Hey, what's up? It is time for another Grillos AftershockXL on the AftershockXL network. I've been working on this one for a while. In fact, probably about 20 something years. What everybody knows at some point, if you're a Stern fan, the infamous Stuttering John Grillo Ganji apartment debacle. There was a very famous apartment that was always talked about on the air by Howard. It was a pre-war sixth-floor walk-up apartment that Jackie the Joke Man used to crash at if he stayed over in the city and he had a gig or something. And it was a very famous apartment because it was what they call rent controlled in the city here. It was something that was used. It had a clause in the lease where the rent couldn't go up X amount of dollars every couple of years. So the rent was like basically $300 a month. Now, if anybody knows, having an apartment in Manhattan for $300 a month is like unheard of. It's still every once in a while you hear about it, but it's just one of those long legacy things where you have to like just be in the know. So Jackie the Joke, so Stuttering John gave the apartment to me and Ganji, and the apartment was given to John through Jackie. And me and Ganji infamously got kicked out because we weren't on the lease, and the company found out, and they got us out of the apartment like that. So that's the famous part of this story as far as the Howard Stern people know. But what they don't know, who is one of the first ones, I can't wait to hear the story, the real story about the apartment, because I've been dying to get this person on my show for a really long time. God bless Facebook. It has its demons, but it also has its good aspects as well, because you get to find people like this person. So in the process of getting thrown out, where we had to get everything out of the apartment within a couple of days, there was a closet there, and there was a big box all the way at the top of the closet, and I said, what the hell is in here? And it turns out it was the personal effects of the person that owned it before Jackie the Joke Man, which is the person that is right here right now, on waiting to come on. And so I happened to go through some, I guess it was some albums and just some knickknack shit that probably they didn't mind, but I found this in there. This right here, Orion Pictures, and there were two of them. And I turned it and I opened it up. And it's by this man, Dennis Blair, and it is a script copy of one of my favorite movies of all time, Easy Money, starring Rodney Dangerfield. So it turns out Dennis wrote Easy Money, and there's all these little handwritten changes in there. And a friend of mine, Ron, who is also waiting in the wings, who's a comedian who I met, he's been on the show, Ron Barber. He's on the show with Jackie. He's a friend of Jackie the Joke Man's. So we were sitting around and we just remembered what a wonderful, amazing, funny fucking movie this was. So I got Dennis Blair here and Ron Barber, both comedians, both have a very interesting story. How you doing, Dennis Blair? Ron Barber?
Dennis Blair, I can't believe I'm on a show with Dennis Blair.
Oh my God, you'll never live it.
This is amazing. One of my favorite movies of all time, and I am meeting the writer. I am so blessed. Thank you. That's why the sun is shining down. Ah, Dennis Blair, thank you. Thank you for having me, Steve. Dennis, so nice to meet you.
Same here, same here.
So before we get into the whole aspect of things, there's something I have to know. What is your story with that apartment? Like, how did you come about the apartment? Yeah, I'm talking about you, Dennis. What's the story with that apartment? How did you come about it? What was it? And what purpose was it used? Was it your main residence, or was it like something? Because everybody, if you don't know, it was on 65th between First and York, and down 3 or 4 blocks was the comedy club Dangerfield's.
Right. So, well, here's the deal. I'm a New York boy, born and bred, not living there anymore, but raised in Whitestone, Queens. Always wanted to move to the city. And a friend of mine named Larry Campbell, who I don't know if you know who that is, but he's pretty famous musician now. He was in Bob Dylan's band for 7 years, and he produced a lot of Levon Helm's stuff from the band. Anyway, he was living on 64th Street in the same basic complex, and he got me a meeting with the rental office, and I finally was able to wheedle my way into that apartment. Yes, I'm living in the city. Fantastic. 65th at First, 6th floor walk up, but we didn't care because we were young at the time. We could make the climb. And then that was the deal. So I finally got my dream of moving to the city and at an affordable rent. Here's the funny story: $274 a month, one bedroom. Yeah, try to do that these days. And we were living there for maybe 2 years, and we got this letter in the mail saying, "Oh, you've been overcharged for the last several years. For a year, our rent went down to like $70 a month."
Oh my
65th
God.
Street and First Avenue. So that's the story there. And of course, it happened to be 4 blocks away from Dangerfield, where I went down one day for an open mic night and got my start there. So that's the basic story.
And now, what people don't, I'm going to try to find some old pictures. It was a very interesting setup because it was a one bedroom technically, but it had a very for what it was, it had a very big living room.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
well, considering where it was and what it was like, but considering that the bathtub was in the kitchen.
Yes.
Now that's kind of like hard to describe to anybody that doesn't really know. It was a big, giant, tub, big tub and the shower curtain sort of went around the whole entire tub. So you had your little privacy. You had to do your shit inside the tub. You had to get, dry off, and then if you had a roommate or somebody there, depending if it was a female or not, get dressed. Right. And there was one sink that you brushed your teeth in, and you also did the dishes.
Yeah, it was really, really a very premium apartment. By the way, if you put over the tub, if you remember, there was a little like a porcelain thing. You could just put it down over the tub, and you had a table. And then
I didn't have that.
Yeah,
I didn't have that.
Toilet room, the toilet room.
Yes.
So you just had one room for the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but great area, 65th and First. You couldn't, and we had a radiator. I don't know if anybody remembers those. That's how we got our.
I had them for 20 years. Pain in the ass. Make a lot of noise.
Right.
So did you write Easy Money while you were at that apartment?
Yeah. So Rodney lived on 82nd Street between York and First. So he was, this is before he moved to Westport, Connecticut. But in those days, he lived there, and we would go over to his place. And man, he had 2 apartments. Like, he knocked out the wall between 2 apartments. So, compared to our place, it was like a palace. He had like tons of square footage. But we would go over there and sit down at his big dining room table and start writing the movie, So
did this bring back some memories for you?
Man, I can't wait to I gotta see. How come it's not in glass? How come it's not in glass?
It shouldn't be in glass, I know. There's some numbers on here. We should call 212-689-0382. It says Joe. I don't know who that is.
Joe.
And then there's a 603-532-7514 number. But there is page 23 dialogue. There's little handwritten notes, as you can see here, in some of the dialogue. Hold on, if I can hold it up there.
Wow, let me see if I can get the reading glasses on here. I'll just.
Ron, you want to read some of that dialogue? Can you do that?
I can hardly see. Oh,
man. I can't read it. I just so Dennis, I was so lucky.
I thought it was lovely.
Go ahead.
I thought it was lovely service, and Julio's friends. What's that? Look so smart in their costumes.
Holy Jesus! What draft is that? That's like the 3rd draft out of like 900.
Yeah, Ron,
it was fascinating when I read this in his apartment, because I know the movie so well. I was like, these lines aren't in the movie.
No.
They must have gone through drafts and drafts to get this thing so tight and beautiful. But for him to have that piece, it's an artifact of just supreme art that that is so rare to have. It's incredible that it was in his place.
Yeah, we sat around that table at Rodney's place for 2 years. So that's how many drafts I don't know how many drafts we wound up going through, but man, it was from when it started to. I mean, we originally had Rodney in a complaint department, working at the complaint department at the store, at the department store, and I thought that would have been great. But Rodney did not understand the concept of dialogue that did not have jokes in it, like jokes. So he says, "What's the joke, man?" I said, "Rodney, you're in a complaint department. People are coming up to you with their gripes, and you're like putting them down." He didn't get it, so that's why it didn't make the final cut. But man, we went through tons. We went through 2 directors too. So.
Was it before they even started, or did you go through the directors during the filming?
We went through. Let's see. No, Joe Subelmeyer. I don't even if you remember the old Federal Express commercials where a lot of people were just staring into the camera like that. It was halfway through the writing process. where he came in and tried to help. And Joe Settlemeyer, the only thing in the movie that survived him being the director was the overhead shot of the backyard with the wedding.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was a Settlemeyer touch. That was the big thing.
It's, you kind of forget. It just brings you back to like people didn't always go and rent out the big halls and pay all that money. They just did it themselves. You know, like it was
Right.
that was like such a throwback. You know,
Yeah.
and the scene that he sings, like, was that something that Rodney wanted? Like, that was that his idea? Like, or
Absolutely. Rodney, anytime Rodney got to sing, he would put it in a movie, I guess. So, I guess they didn't let him do it in Caddyshack. So he said, I'm going to do it. This is my movie. I'm going to sing Funiculi, Funicula, and Pesci, and Pesci joining in, It was...
So, I know this one little fact, that the first time that Rodney acted was in Caddyshack. And it was in the scene where he said, "Oh, my own." And it was one of the scenes where he was there, and the first take, he did it. And he goes, "Oh, I don't want nothing to do with this movie business. Fuck this." He goes, "I'm out of here." They're like, "Rodney, what are you talking about?" He goes, I quit. I can't do this." And he goes, "Rodney, why? He goes, "Because I suck. I can't do this. I'm horrible. Nobody laughed. They were like, "Rodney, they're taping a movie. You can't laugh in between, like while they're filming."
Right.
The whole crew is like holding their mouth, trying to like not laugh. He goes, "Oh, all right then, let's do another one."
Yeah, that's I know. Yeah, that's not funny, man. Then nobody's laughing. It's a movie. You can't laugh. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, interesting fact. That's not the first time Rodney was in a movie, Caddyshack. You ever hear of a movie called The Projectionist?
No.
He was in that movie with Chuck McCann, who you probably won't remember, but yeah, this was like years before. He was kind of like he wasn't the superstar he was then, but he was much more subdued in this movie. He was like he'd kind of talk like this, So Projectionist first, then Caddyshack, then Easy Money. Just a fun fact for your fans.
Wow, I didn't know. I would have looked that up.
Yeah.
So there's so many classic lines in that movie, and it's just like you shot me in the you were shot in the upper part of the gluteus maximus. So you're wrong, Doc. You shot me in the ass. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, so was that a collaborative thing that you guys all did, or was it just did it come from Rodney mostly?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's so long ago but we were all, me and Michael Endler and PJ O'Rourke and Rodney and his manager, were all around the table like almost every day. So we would just throw in ideas and come up with scene ideas and stuff like that. So I don't remember who came up with that specific line. It might have been Rodney. It might have been one of us. I know the one that I remember specifically is the regular guy look line. I came up with that. The callback where Vindaloo goes, "You did the regular guy look? I just bought a whole bunch of short sleeve pajamas." That was definitely me. I remember that one. That got a big laugh around the table. So we put that in.
When the clumps get afraid, then it becomes a pajama top.
Yeah. Now that bit was an old bit of Rodney's. He used to do in his old act, about the pajama top.
Yeah.
But that was all him. But then the callback was me. So that so it was a big collaboration. But you had to make Rodney happy. Had to be a lot of jokes in there, which was fine because people seem to enjoy it anyway. Once you put your head together, make an ass of yourself. That's Rodney. Yeah. All that stuff was like classic.
Ron must have said that like 10 times yesterday.
Yeah, make an ass of yourself, okay?
Now Joe Pesci wasn't really acting at that time, was he?
Well, let's see. He had just done Raging Bull,
but he didn't want to have anything to do with acting, right?
He was always trying to stop acting. He was always trying to get out of this, I don't know if he was actively trying at that point. But yeah, I mean, he agreed to do the movie because he was a big Rodney fan, But here's the thing. Every time, so when we were doing the movie, we'd all be on the set and Joe would ad-lib a funny line. If he got a laugh, Rodney would take that line from him. So Rodney would go, "Yeah, I'll do that line, okay? It's more my style." Actually, would like, "Stand, wait a minute, I just came up with that line. What's wrong?" So, he got really pissed off a whole bunch of times. I think by the end of the movie, he was kind of glad it was over because Rodney kept stealing his best moments in the film.
My favorite line was, "Now get out of here, you half a sissy, before I give you a slap."
Yeah. I think Joe probably came up with half a sissy. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
But you couldn't get away with that today.
I know. It's a whole different time.
Yeah. What was your favorite outside? Were you on set for the movie?
Yeah. Here's my favorite moment. Remember? Of course, you remember the famous thing where the woman was sunning herself on the porch, right? And she's totally topless. the producer of the movie sold. Yeah, they were filming a lot from the second floor of the house. He sold. I forget how much he charged, but if people wanted to stand at the window and watch them shoot that whole scene over and over again, he like sold them tickets to watch, her getting undressed and dressed again and all that stuff.
That's not perverted.
That's hilarious, But man, I'm telling you, so going into the Christmas tree, had to retake that a whole bunch of times, And he hated making movies. I mean, Rodney hated making movies. It was like he felt like he was being punished. He said, "You want to punish a kid? You make him write on the blackboard 100 times. That's what like making a movie is, okay? You got to say the same line over and over again, and it's not half as funny as the second time." So he was. They tried to accommodate him and do one take as often as possible.
Wow, interesting. Now, Ron, you have you always like the guy outside with the joints in his pocket. What was that scene, Ron?
Which one?
Which one?
The guy when he's giving him a joint in front of his daughter.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't it Jeff Altman, right?
Jeff Altman, yeah. And he was going to give that to me. He was going to let me be that guy, but I don't know. The director next to it, he said, "No, we got Jeff Altman. He wants to do it." So,
who were you in that? In that movie?
I was in 2 scenes. I was in the regular guy look scene where I was the guy with the going, "Look at that suit! Look at that suit!" That was me. And then I was the guy wheezing in the hospital bed near the end of the movie where Rodney.
Oh, really?
And I was the guy going. And it's a claim to fame. Jennifer Jason Leigh was sprawled on top of my butt with Taylor Negron kissing her. I'm going, this is an interesting way to make a living.
Yeah, right. I'm getting paid good money for this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. She still looks good, Jennifer Jason.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of good stuff lately.
The last thing I saw her was in the Hateful Eight.
Yeah, right. I think she's
in a Tarantino movie.
She was in a couple of TV movies too. I'm trying to remember which one. I think she wrote something that we watched last year. It was really good. Yeah, it's funny. She never mentions among her credits Easy Money. I don't know why. I don't think she had a good time.
And that other guy just passed away. I'm sorry, what's his name, Victor?
Taylor Negron.
Taylor
Negron. Yeah, he just passed away, huh?
Yeah, he died a couple of years ago. Too bad. He was a great guy. The jacket he's wearing in the car. When he drives up, and I forget who he's talking to. He's got like a reddish burgundy satin jacket on. That's my jacket, and it's my car. It was my car.
Do you still have the jacket?
No, I have no idea where it is. I think it finally ripped to shreds. But these are fun facts to tell the grandkids.
Yeah. Next time we're watching the movie.
Yeah. There you go.
But how did you meet Jackie the Joke Man?
Well, Jackie and I met before either of us were comedians because I lived in Long Island, and he was an assistant at a studio that I used to record songs at. And I just, we used to crack each other up, and he'd go, "Blair, you should do this for a living. You're funny." I'm going, and I said, "No, I can't do this. I can do this with friends, but I can't do it in front of an audience." But lo and behold, years later, I just fell into this comedy career. But then, Jackie by that time, I guess, was doing Stern, so we just always kept in touch. But we met way before comedy. He was a Long Island guy, and I was a Long Island guy.
That's cool. So now you do Easy Money. What was the net? So that movie. Wait, that's the other question. Did Billy Joel specifically write that for the movie?
Yes, I tell everybody if I had not been born, Billy Joel never would have written the song Easy Money, and they just look at me like, okay. But yeah, he wrote it for the movie. Yeah.
Well, and were you on set every day?
Pretty much every day, almost every day, because what would happen is, we do a scene and Roddy didn't like it, or the director didn't like it, or they needed new lines or punch-ups, and so Mike Lendler and I, and sometimes PJ would be on the set almost every day, and they say, "We need a line for here, we need a better line, we need this, we need that." So that happened a lot,
Ron,
as you can tell by that script you have, which probably has nothing to do with the movie that finally got made.
I haven't read it. I was with there. I was talking to Ron. And I wanted to talk to you about it first because I sort of have this new in with the Friars Club, and I know there's a lot of people there, and I thought it'd be fun to actually do a script read with like one of the early versions of this version of Easy Money,
right?
Compared to what the movie actually is, and so I'm kind of working on something like that. So if that's the case, I could probably if I make it a big enough event where people could sit in the audience and like we get like the right comedians coming to play all the different, because I thought, like, because Jim Brewer does such a great Joe Pesci,
Yeah, man, that would be
and
amazing.
then maybe
That would
have
be
Jackie or you do Rodney, just because you guys knew him so well, and just have different comedians do, have all the characters, do a script read, and just see how it turns out. It could be like a fun event. And that's why I thought of, like, I wanted to call you, because if I did something like that, I would want to have your blessing, because it is technically your script.
Fine with me.
Well, there you go, Ron. We got permission.
You got the blessing.
Amazing.
The Pope has spoken.
Dennis, this movie is such a cult classic. A lot of people don't even know it. They don't know this Rodney movie. And I always say, of the other two, Back to School, which is great, and Caddyshack, like, to me, they're not even close. But I guess it's a specific thing you have to have culturally about how you guys wrote it. I was going to say something about the music you have. You have that vaudeville music going throughout.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't there for the music part of it, so I don't know how that all came about. But I know they wanted to get Billy Joel to do the title song for a long time, and he was a huge Rodney fan. He came to a show we did at Westbury, and here's a funny story. So Billy Joel comes to this show, right, and I come off stage, and then Rodney goes on. He does his show, and then, like, we're all my wife and I were sitting in the dressing room, because Billy and Rodney are just talking in the dressing room, and we're just sitting on the wall going, I can't believe this is happening. And at one point, Billy Joel goes to Rodney, yeah, Rodney, we're going to do this tour where I'm going to have a TV on stage, and it's just going to be on tuned to the Andy Griffith Show, and we're not even going to refer to it. And Rodney kind of chuckled, said, oh, okay, and you could tell Billy was like, oh, I made Rodney chuckle. So about the conversation continues, and about 3 minutes later, Billy goes, yeah, Rodney, like I said, we're going to have that TV on during the tour. And Rodney turns to Billy and he goes, it was kind of funny the first time.
So what kind of shenanigans went on in that apartment? Was that like a crash pad for like all the comedians that like played Dangerfield?
Do you mean the apartment that we all?
Yeah, the 65th. Yeah.
No, it was just like I said. We just moved in there because my friend Larry Campbell got us the apartment, and we just lived there. And it wasn't because I wasn't much. I didn't mix with the other comics very much. If I did, we went to the Green Kitchen. I don't even know if that's still there in the city anymore.
No,
but that was the big comedy hang, the Green Kitchen, and then JP's, which was the after hours bar at 76th Street. And First Avenue. Man, that was a great place. And John Murray was the bartender. He was one of Bill Murray's brothers, and that's where we got to meet Bill and all those guys.
I just pictured that like some crazy shit went on up there. Like, like everybody went back into your place after like a set, and it was just like.
No, I wasn't a hang with the comedians kind of guy. I was kind of a loner, and also I was a guitar comic, so I was like, it's a long story, but no, nothing. I'm sorry to tell you, there were no great stories from the actual apartment, except when John Murray came over, Bill's brother, and that was during my video games phase. I had like 10,000 Atari video games, and Johnny comes over. He goes, "What's with the video games, Dennis?" I go, "Well, it's an obsession, but hey, at least I don't do cocaine." And he says, "How many games you got there?" He says, "I don't know, about 40." He goes, "Maybe you should do cocaine." That was the only really funny thing that happened for it. Yeah, it was just a place to hang, just our little living space.
So now, Easy Money was a success in my eyes, and after Easy Money and success, you got this big writing credit and a movie with Rodney. What happens next?
Well, based from the momentum of Easy Money, we got a deal with Orion to write another movie, and we wrote a movie called Lean Acres. It was about a fat farm. It's called Lean Acres, and I wrote that with a guy named Mel Green, who I think wrote for SNL for a while. He was a friend of mine, and then we wrote it, and we got a producer, and he kept giving us notes, and we worked on that. We were at the Chateau Marmont for a couple of months. Nice. They flew us out to LA. I was still in New York City, and it just never got made. They bought it. They bought the movie. We got paid for it, but it never got made. And then after that, the bloom was off the rose pretty much, and so we never got another movie made. But we got one sold, so that was it. I'll tell you, I was like the worst businessman ever. I should have parlayed that into more stuff, but I just didn't. By that time I was on the road with Joan Rivers, and then eventually George Carlin. So that was fun.
I was waiting for that. We're
Yeah.
gonna. That's because I know you wrote a book, Touring with Legends. Everybody
Yeah.
should really check it out because there's some really great stories. I was reading great reviews, at least from what I saw.
Oh, good. Yeah,
And,
people seem to
the
like that.
Amazon reviews were. I definitely. It's on my purchase list. I
Okay.
prefer to go to a Barnes and Noble and pick up a book. I don't like waiting.
Yeah, okay.
And,
I think it's on Barnes and Noble too, and also the Bear
Yeah.
Bear Manor is the name of the publisher. Bear Manor Media. I think they have it on their site too. So either.
Some of the you work with some of the top comics of all time.
Yes, what a
and
good career.
So George Carlin, hello, oh my God, like you've got to have some great George Carlin stories.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of great George. There's plenty. I mean, there's great Rodney stories. There's great Joan Rivers stories. George Carlin was, I'd never met the guy. I had an agent. At that time, I was doing a lot of opening act work for, pretty big, big bands, famous people, and Toto and the Spinners and the Four Tops and the Tom Jones I worked a year with. So and this agent, this great agent, was just getting me all this work, and he called up one day and said, "Hey, you wanna work for 3 months with George Carlin?" And I think I was on the plane before he finished the sentence, and but I'd never met George. I guess they'd seen a tape of me or something. And first day was Omaha, 1988. And he comes down and says, "Hey, Dennis, how the fuck are you?" And I'd never met the guy. He goes walking into the dressing room, takes about half of my deli tray, all my grapes and my carrots. "I'm taking half of these, so fuck you." "Okay, George, no problem." And he's just going around the room, like looking at shit. He goes, "All right, I've heard really great stuff, so we'll be watching you, so don't fuck up." And then he leaves my room, and I'm going, "Okay, that was kind of fun, And luckily, the show went well that night, and I did my 3 months, and he kept me on for 18 years. So
18 years. Did you get to hang out with it? Did you guys hang out afterwards, or?
Yeah, the guy who liked to hang out was Rodney. He loved to hang out. He had me. Sometimes I didn't want to hang out. He said, "Hey, come on over," and he couldn't say no because he was hiring me.
Yeah.
George was more of a loner, but when we did hang out, we had some great times. I mean, he told me the whole story about how he made the change from the hippy dippy guy to what he became later, and he'd always leave me these great notes when I was on stage. Like, I'd come back, I would be opening for him, and he'd go right on, and I'd find this note in my dressing room. And my favorite one, I think it's in the book, my favorite one that he left me was, "Dennis, a few of us were talking, and we think you need to blow more people. Your friend, George Carlin." These are the kind of things.
Oh, tell me you saved those.
Oh, yeah, I got them. Yeah. There's also a set list. I have pictures in the book. There's a set list that I asked him if I could keep, just his set for the evening. And it was like, war, destruction, beheading, execution. Those were his bullet points. So he was a really happy guy, but he loved being on the road. So he worked a lot. We worked a lot together.
Oh, didn't something happen after his wife passed away? He went into like a crazy time, or?
Well, after his wife died, he was of course depressed and really down for a while. But it did, he was able to compartmentalize, so he was able to keep working, And then about a year later, he hooked up with this woman named Sally, and they became like inseparable. So he was very happy. I think he started getting in darker moods. He started getting kind of cranky the last 2 years of his life, and none of us could figure out why, because he was the happiest person. He just loved working. He loved doing comedy. He was so goofy off stage, and we found out later he was battling an addiction to Vicodin, and his veins and arteries were congealing. He was having more heart problems. So that's what caused the depression, not the wife, But yeah, before that, we just had some great fun.
What was your last memory of George?
Last memory? Well, I did his last week in Vegas at the Orleans Hotel. There was like 4 nights. We did 4 nights, and he was just not himself. He was not the way he always was. I mean, we would take trips. We would do a lot of traveling in cars, rental cars, and we would come up with these premises, just these dopey premises. Like one was, "Who do you think is the famous person with the bushiest pubic hair?" These were, we try to come up with our own ideas. I think I came up with Rhea Perlman. I'm not sure.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. And then my favorite was
Rue McClanahan.
Oh, there you go, Rue McClanahan. One of my favorites was, the premise was Kennedy's last words, Now, usually George won these because he came up with the most outlandish and funniest ones, but I won this one. This was what were Kennedy's last words, and I came up with, "Why is my head whistling?" And they said, "All right, Dennis, you won that one." But he usually won all the other ones, which were like restaurants you don't want to go into. I came up with any restaurant where truckers are vomiting over the railing, and he came up with any restaurant where you walk in and the waiter is taking a shit in the soup. So this is the kind of fun we used to have on the road.
Now, Joan Rivers is another like amazing classic comedian that you work with. She was always very nice because she used to come on the Howard Stern show all the time.
Yeah,
and she was always very nice to me. She had this assistant or her Dorothea, who I was like, the first time I was kind of attracted to an older woman. She was very sexy. And I was brought in on the air because of Dorothea, because they were like, "Oh, Grillos got a crush on Dorothea," and she was like in her 50s probably. I don't know if you remember Dorothea.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
And very classy, sexy woman. But I was infamously invited to one of Joan's Christmas parties, but it was on Christmas, and I didn't go because I'm really kind of tight with my family, and Christmas was a big deal, and I got made fun of. Like, how would you not go to Joan Rivers' Christmas party? And I was like, how could I leave my family to go to Joan Rivers' Christmas party? You
made the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Joan was always very nice, and just like she was a pioneer as far as female comedians goes. She was the end all be all.
Right. And she was she was like a den mother. She would organize trips for us. The great thing, one of the great things about Joan is she would always use in the mid 80s, and she was really a huge star then. Not that she wasn't afterwards, but she was just becoming like this huge phenomenon. And she would always have two opening acts, one musical act and one comic. And sometimes I would be the musical act because the comic would be like Gary Chandler, who I became pretty close with. And she would call us up at like 10 in the morning. And, comics don't get up before noon. You know that. So 10 o'clock in the morning, our hotel in Tahoe would ring. Our phone in Tahoe would ring. "Hello, who is it?" "It's Joan. We're all going on the boat." "What? What? Who? What? Who? Where? What time is it?" "It's 10 o'clock. Get dressed. We're all going water skiing." So you'd have to go down to the lobby in like 20 minutes and go water skiing on the Caesar yacht, And it was in one sense it was annoying, but on the other sense, okay, we're going water skiing with Joan Rivers and Melissa and her entourage. So those are the kind of things that she would organize stuff, ski trips, kind of stuff. So she was good, and she got me on the Tonight Show when she was guest host.
Well, when they were talking to her.
Yeah. This is before the
horrible story.
Right.
Ron, are you a big Gary Shandling fan? I saw you like.
I'm a humongous. I mean, that's another one of all these guys. Gary Shandling was just brilliant. His stand-up was amazing. That show that he had going on afterward. But Dennis, you opened for all these people, and for you to be this close, your act, is it clean? Because when I look at a couple clips, and it's very clean. I know it's the internet, and you kind of want that image, and you play so beautifully, and you sing so beautifully, and you're very funny. How did you be connected? All these people must love you having them as their setup for their show, and because you're different from them too.
Yeah, I think it worked. I guess it worked because I was, I would. As an opening act, your job is really to just get the audience warmed up so that the audience is, is at this level when the headliner hits. Yeah. And so I did comedy, but it was, like you said, it was like nothing like theirs because it's musical and it's parodies, and they would just come out with a microphone. So I would get the audience in the right mood, but I wouldn't interfere with their style. So I guess that's why I opened for, Joan and Rodney and Carlin and Alan King. Norm Macdonald recently, about last year, I opened for him.
Norm.
So I mean,
Barry Sobel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Barry Sobel. I was just speaking with Barry Sobel yesterday. He's like, "Tell Dennis I say hello." He was nothing but so kind when I was with Norm in Vegas recently. I guess he had opened for Norm at one point too. And he's like,
he did. Barry did a set. He did like 10 minutes before I went on. So it was great. It was great to see him too.
Yeah, just couldn't. He said he couldn't be nicer, and I was like, "This guy's a comedian. He's so nice." And I mean, maybe you must have skipped a level that all these comedians I've seen in New York, the bitterness and anger.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I mean, I went to Dangerfield's. See, just very quickly, I didn't have to do like Catch a Rising Star and wait for like hours and hours to get a number. luckily Dangerfield's was 4 blocks from me, so I just auditioned there, and then they hired me immediately to open for whoever the headliner would be. The following week was Jackie Mason, and then the next week was Rodney. So so I got in. I didn't have to put up with all that bullshit, So I always consider myself really lucky.
Beautiful. And Jackie Mason.
Yeah.
Jackie Mason, right down here. That's the one person I see more than anyone else in this city. And you wrote a show for him? I've seen his Broadway shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you wrote a show for him?
I wrote a show for him. They already had the skeleton of the nucleus of the sketches. And they went through like 4 different writers, and they called me in a panic. I don't know if you know Jill. You know his manager, Jill? No. She said, she sounds exactly like Joan Rivers. And she called me, do you write sketches? I'm going, I've written sketches. Why? And they flew me to New York for 6 months, and they wanted to salvage what these writers had come up with. And we got it into shape. But here's the problem. It was a musical. And Jackie can't sing, and Jackie can't act. So other than that, it was a perfect.
Come on, he was really good in The Jerk.
Yeah, but I mean, he was kind of doing a caricature, and Jackie just, I felt terrible because the critics panned it because it was pretty, it was pretty good. People were laughing, people were enjoying it by the run, but I think the New York critics hated him because he was so right wing, Jackie. But I felt really bad, and I called him up. I said, Jackie, I'm sorry. I tried my hardest. He says, first of all, don't worry about it. I realized it was the wrong thing for me to do. Nobody wants to see a Jew like me in a musical. I don't know what made me think of this. What made me think I was going to sing a song? People were going to come like they're going to watch me dancing and schlepping around. So he realized maybe this wasn't the best move for him.
That's cool. I know you got to run because you had 40 minutes to give me, and I really appreciate that. Why don't we end this on what was your most epic night out ever? With who was there? Was there one night where Rodney was there with a rock star or something that really a really good story to end everything?
Well, Rodney had on his 60th birthday, and I think that I've been working for him maybe 6 months at his club at Dangerfield's. He had a big birthday celebration, and he invited Steve Martin, all the Murrays, Chevy Chase. So all these people were crammed into Dangerfields. We all did I did a 10-minute set. Rodney did a 10-minute set. I forget. Robert Klein was there. He did a 10-minute set. And we went downstairs. My wife was taking, my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, was taking photographs of everything. And she had left her camera in Rodney's dressing room. She went down into Rodney's dressing room, and sitting there with Joe Ansis, who's legendary, who lived with Rodney, and Joe Ansis was talking to John Belushi. And so she kind of snuck in, and somewhere in my archives, I have it. Maybe you have it. Yeah. There's a picture of Belushi and Joe Ansis, and 2 weeks later is when he died. So, but it was an amazing night. That's one that really sticks out in my mind because it was star-studded. Everybody was there.
Can't imagine what happened that night, but I'm not going to get into it. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Oh, by the way, little RIP to Charles Grodin. He passed away today. I don't know if you know that.
Who did Charles Grodin?
Yeah.
Oh, 86.
No.
Yeah, 86.
I was just watching all the YouTube clips of him with Carson and Letterman and that shitty.
He had that weird relationship with Carson where he'd come out and it would be like this tension. It was
that's too bad.
I had the chance there was a point where Howard was and him were going at each other's throats when he had his TV show, and he would bash Howard and Howard would bash him, and they were really going at each other's throats. And so I was with Stuttering John, and we were doing something over at the Waldorf Astoria. There was a big NBC event. So there's 2 entrances to the Waldorf Astoria. One was the red carpet, and there was the back entrance. But John had the whole camera crew, and I said, well, why don't you just give me the recorder, and I'll see if I can get people coming out. So as soon as they all walked around the corner, and as soon as that happened, a town car pulls up, and I could see Charles Grodin in the back seat. And I'm fumbling. It wasn't just a regular tape recorder where you hit record. It was a Marantz. You need to know what exactly levels and all this crap. So I get it. The Marantz rolling. And Charles Grodin's coming in, and I was like, Mr. Grodin, can I ask you a question for WXRK? And he's like, sure. And then he didn't stop. So now there's a little escalator in the back of the Waldorf Astoria that goes up to the main level. Yeah. So he's in the escalator, and I'm running up the down escalator, and I'm answering questions. So like one of the questions, like I was like, "Do your children know you wear a wig?" And then he was like, "What?" And then I think the second one, by the time I got to the top, I asked one more in between, and I'm like, and I mumbled like, "By the way, I love you, Midnight Run. It's one of my favorite movies." And he like looks down at me, and I'm like, then I get to the top. I said, "Do you drink Rogaine?" And he grabbed the microphone and he cocked back his fist like this, and he was gonna punch me in the face. And I went like this, and you could hear me on the tape. I go, "Just go ahead and do it." I was like, "Please do it." And he stopped himself and he goes, "Get the fuck out of my face!" And then he just like stormed off.
Wow. He should have appreciated that. Come on, that's the kind of question you'd ask. You know?
No, he was cantankerous, my friends.
Okay,
He was like, it was a Howard thing. He knew it was Howard making fun of him.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Midnight Run, here's my one Charles Grodin impression. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm a blue collar criminal. Okay, that's it. That's the entire.
I love that.
Mardukas, the Duke.
My favorite line, and I use this all the time, is De Niro. "I got 2 words for you. Shut the fuck up."
Great movie. Yeah. Oh man.
One of my favorites. The litmus test. The litmus test.
Yes. Litmus configuration. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, thank you so much. You can check out his book, Touring with Legends. I would recommend it. Were you working on anything currently right now?
Yeah, well, I'm getting my next album. I do music too, so I'm going to go to Nashville in September and record album number 4. Those are all over on Spotify, all my albums. So that's it. But doing the Comedy Cellar now. That's open in Vegas, so I'm starting.
Okay.
About a week. Yeah.
Well, if you come to New York and you do anything, give me a buzz. And when you have anything new coming out, let me know, and I'll be more than glad to promote it.
Great. Okay. Thanks. This was fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Cool.
That's such a pleasure. Thank you. Dennis, I hope to meet you when you come to New York, man. I'll be following you now. Be watching all your stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll get together.
And then we'll have to do something about this.
Yes. Love it.
Don't lose it.
I won't lose it. It's in the same place.
Okay.
It's actually, I have it like right on the. It's like a centerpiece in my apartment. When new people come over, I'm like, "You know what this is?" And people are like, "Ooh, oh my God, look!" You know, like.
Great.
So,
great.
All right, cool, man. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you for having being here, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.